wide receivers. Now moving on to another segment of ours called NFL Veteran QB Roulette. And so each of us picked out of these new signings of veteran QBs, we have Jameis Winston of the Saints, Nick Foles of the Bears, Tom Brady of the Buccaneers, Philip Rivers of the Colts, Teddy Bridgewater of the Panthers, and Andy Dalton of the Dallas Cowboys. And so we basically picked our favorite QB acquisition. And so I picked Nick Foles, AJ picked Philip Rivers, and Sujal picked James Winston. And so who wants to start? I think Sujal should start.
Yeah, the thing about Jameis Winston is I've been a huge fan of him. I think like the upside is crazy for him. Obviously, it didn't work out in Tampa Bay last year. He threw for 33 touchdowns, but he also threw for 30 interceptions. But I think like now he's playing behind Drew Brees, and like who else is like a better person to learn from? Also, he had eye surgery. I mean, obviously, like it's not going to do wonders. It's not like he's going to have like, eyesight now, but I feel like that could potentially help him cut down on the interceptions. And obviously, he had amazing weapons in Tampa Bay, but the offensive line protection was not. It was not good. It was pretty bad actually, and they did not have a running game for like the entirety of his career in Tampa Bay. But now in New Orleans, you have Alvin Kamara. He's a dual threat running back. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball, and you also have Mike Thomas, and he's top three receiver. He can run physicality, and you have Jared Cook, a really good tight end. You have that defense. That defense is really good. So especially he never had a good defense. So and the pressure was on him to deliver these timely throws, these clutch throws to make and live up to that number one QB status. But um, the thing is, in New Orleans, he does not need to. He already has that defense to carry him, and the pressure is going to be. It's going to be. He's not going to have as much pressure as he did in Tampa Bay, and he has a guy like Taysom Hill. He can also take some of the QB snaps for him. So I think Winston is put in the perfect place to succeed. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is my favorite QB acquisition of the whole free agency. I mean, I love this move for the Chicago Bears. I mean, you're talking about Mitchell Trubisky, who's basically thrown their whole franchise down the drain. I mean, you have a defense who was the number one defense in 2018, who led him to the wild card, and then the devastating kick by Cody Parkey. And so I think bringing in a guy who could either mentor Trubisky to basically push him to say like, oh, this is my franchise, not anyone else's. And I think lighting a fire under Mitchell Trubisky is like a great move by Pace and Nagy. And I think bringing in a Super Bowl QB who has the winning mentality to Chicago, I mean, I think that's what they need. I mean, you have a very consistent QB who obviously had injuries in Jacksonville and couldn't perform. But now you're giving him a wide receiver like Allen Robinson. You're giving him a speed wide receiver like Anthony Miller. You're giving him a speed running back like Tariq Cohen. You're giving him a power back like David Montgomery. And you're giving him a decent O line and then a new rookie tight end Cole Kmet and tight end veteran tight end Jimmy Graham. I think he's put in the perfect place to succeed. And I think either way, the Bears are winning from this move because either way, you either have Nick Foles, who is going to help you guys win a championship, or you're going to have Mitchell Trubisky develop into the franchise QB that you guys were ridiculed for in 2017 in the 2017 draft. I mean, obviously everyone says, "Oh, he's drafted before Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, who are both, I agree, better than him." But I think bringing Nick Foles to mentor that mentality, because right now Trubisky, he's a good QB. He obviously overthrows the ball, but what he lacks the most is confidence. And I think Nick Foles can help him bring that confidence and winning mentality and like push him into saying, this is my franchise. No one can take this away from me. I think bringing in another QB to compete with him for the job, obviously Chase Daniel wasn't as good. He's very old. And I think now you're competing between Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky for the starting job. And obviously declining the 50-year option was a really good idea because it kind of shows Trubisky, oh, if you don't perform, we're going to kick you out. And I think Nick Foles is like a perfect option for the Bears. And I think either way, you're getting a very good situation out of this. And I think the way they restructured his deal to 8 years, 24 million. I mean, 3 years, 24 million, and 20 million guaranteed. And I think they're not going to cut him because he's a good mentor for Trubisky either way, or he could help you win a championship. And I think this is the perfect move for Chicago. And I love, love, love this move by Pace and Nagy.
So I agree with what you say that this is a very bipolar decision where either Mitchell Trubisky comes out of this as a Chicago Bear franchise quarterback, newly he's now much better than he was before because he learned from Nick Foles. So now he's a more educated football quarterback for the Chicago Bears, or now he's going to be on a new team next year, which I think is more likely, but I'll talk about that later. So I'm going to talk about Phillip Rivers now. Why I like Phillip Rivers is because he's a solid veteran quarterback for the Colts, and I really believe that looking at the Colts' schedule and the performance of Jacoby Brissett with Phillip Rivers or any better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, this would have been a playoff team. Okay, and I think he fits. I think there's history between Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, and Phillip Rivers that can't be ignored, which is that Reich was the offensive coordinator of the San Diego Chargers when Phillip Rivers was there in 2014 and 2015, and that means they have past connections. They know each other's system, so he fits well in this Reich system. And overall, he's just a solid veteran quarterback, and I think the Colts needed a veteran presence in that locker room to lead this young team.
Um, I think the Phil Rivers move, I think it was like for the head coach's way of saying, "Oh, we need a win now," and we brought in a 38-year-old QB who has a presence in the locker
Absolutely.
room who could help you win that. He's like, "Oh, we have the pieces to basically be a winning franchise." And now you just needed a quarterback. I mean, Jacoby Brissett got it done last year a bit, but I think bringing in Philip Rivers is a good move for the Colts. And I think either way, if they went Rivers or another QB, I think they would have been a winning franchise in the future. But I think right now this move makes sense, and I like this move as well.
Absolutely agree. It's a win now move. It's a short contract for a guy in his late 30s. Some may even compare a Peyton Manning contract with like the Broncos did in 2012. But it's just a short-term contract. Get it done these next 2 seasons, Philip Rivers. Even develop the guy we bring in to replace you. Could be Jacob Eason. I like that pick. I think he fits well in the system. Could be anyone else, but I think Philip Rivers is there to help develop the next quarterback of the Colts and be the quarterback of the Colts right now.
Yeah. So moving on, we have a QB who will struggle in their respective teams. I mean, obviously, we have AJ and Sudol picking Nick Foles of Chicago, and I have Teddy Bridgewater of Carolina. So just because I'm the sole person, I'm going to go first and say Teddy Bridgewater is not going to perform at the level he did when Drew Brees was injured in New Orleans. Because I think when you look at the Saints, they had a better defense than Carolina has right now. I mean, you lost Kuechly, but you brought in Derek Brown. I mean, I think that's a very good move for them because you just replaced what they had. But I think Teddy Bridgewater, he had the pieces in New Orleans to really succeed. You had Michael Thomas, you had Alvin Kamara, you had a really good offensive line, you had a really good defense led by Cameron Jordan. And I think in Carolina, obviously you have Christian McCaffrey, but I think the wide receiver core isn't as strong as it was in New Orleans for him to perform at the same level. And I think because of that reason, I think he's going to struggle. He's a very good QB. I liked him in New Orleans, but I think the way that New Orleans has built their team, I think it's a very different situation than Carolina, and I don't see him succeeding. I mean, we look back on his like tape in on the Vikings and all that. He didn't perform at like a high level um when he didn't have the wide receivers to really like build him up and perform and help him perform at a high level. And that's why I think Teddy Bridgewater won't perform at the same level as the Saints. And that's why he's my quarterback who will struggle on their respective team, which is now the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, so I really don't know what Foles is going to do next year. I think he will either be a boom or bust for the Bears. And even if he's a bust, maybe he develops Mitchell Trubisky. But for me, I think Nick Foles most likely will not do great because you saw how he was last season with the Jaguars when he was given that number one, the reins to the starting quarterback, and he just was not nice at all. Gardner Minshew completely outperformed him, and I think in a lot of ways, he's definitely shown flashes as a starting quarterback, but there's been no consistency. Obviously, a lot of times you want to bring up the Super Bowl 52 MVP and whatever, but that during that playoffs, I think a lot of people forget they almost didn't make it because of Nick Foles. And if you look back at the divisional round in that season, they played the Falcons as the number one seed. They hosted the 6 seed Falcons, I believe. And that was a very bad game for Nick Foles. There was no way that anyone expected him to play that well after that. And he did very well, so it's his credit to him. But I just don't think that is the quarterback Nick Foles is. What we saw in that NFC Championship game and Super Bowl, and I think if you look back also 2016 season, specifically on the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick Foles was signed by that team and started a few games while Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator, and it was not that amazing. He won a few games, but I think he just wasn't playing well in that system. So I think he might struggle the same in this time around.
Actually, I think when you look back on the Jacksonville tape, obviously he played week 1, but then he got injured, and then he came back right week 11 or something. I think when he came back, he performed at a decent level that the Bears need right now. I mean, they need a quarterback who they can count on right now. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky has shown he can't like lead them to win games. And I think Nick Foles, he had 296 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 or 3 touchdowns, I believe. And that's kind of the production that Chicago needs. I mean, you have an amazing defense led by Khalil Mack, and now you bring in Robert Quinn. I think their defense is turning back a little bit to the 2018 season where Mitchell Trubisky was obviously the starter and they went 12-4. But I think now you think you have a consistent quarterback in Nick Foles who obviously has showed streaks that he can't be that quarterback. But I think overall, either way, Chicago's getting a quarterback that they need right now, either in mentoring Trubisky or being that person who they can count on to be consistent and help them win games.
Yeah, to add a quick point, I also think he will not. He will do bad because the thing was when he succeeded, he was obviously in Philadelphia. And the thing about that Philly team was that it was a great running team. And he benefited from the attention that linebackers and safeties gave to that running team. So he could. There was a lot of RPOs, run pass options that was happening there. The Philly offensive line was great. And the thing is, in Chicago, he really doesn't have that running back. I mean, yeah, David Montgomery, sure, but he's not like de facto running back. The Eagles in that season, they had LeGarrette Blount, and he actually performed really well. They also had J.J. They had like so many running backs. They had a whole community of running backs, and that was good. And I really don't think has a weapons. He really doesn't have the weapons yet. He has Allen Robinson, a very slept-on receiver. But I think, it's too hard to tell. I mean, unless David Montgomery has like a breakout year, I don't think I don't think Foles is the type of guy to put his team on his back and then carry them. He'll just perform if he has the weapons necessary. He'll just lead you through the game. He's not going to be like a Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson who will win you the game because of his presence. So, yeah.
Yes, so quickly adding on, Nick Foles is a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I think he needs weapons, and the Bears do have some weapons, but notably in Super Bowl 52, he had 3 reliable running backs, Jay Ajayi, LeGarrette Blount, Corey Clement, and then he had 2 really reliable wide receivers and tight ends. So receiving core was pretty reliable in Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, and Zach Ertz. These were really good wide receiver core. It fit Nick Foles, and I think it's going to be hard for Nick Foles, especially with no OTAs, to gain chemistry with these wide receivers in Chicago.
Yeah, either way, these QBs, either way, they're decent moves for their team,
Yeah, they're
and
gonna
we'll
do
just have
fine.
to wait and see. Yeah. And so obviously we have the quarterback who will succeed now. AJ picked Teddy Bridgewater. Sujal and I picked Tom Brady. And so AJ, why don't you start? Because you're the only one who picked Teddy
Okay,
Bridgewater.
so I also think Tom Brady will succeed now. I just want to say that, but I feel like a lot of people think Tom Brady already will succeed in Tampa Bay with all the weapons. So I actually want to focus on Teddy Bridgewater real quick because um, the system is. I think he played very well last year with the Saints. I think he went 4-1 as a starter there, which is pretty solid. Um, and he has past starting experience. He obviously started with the Vikings until his injury, and I think he's very ready for this opportunity. And the thing I like about the Panthers is that it's more of a college system. Obviously, they brought in Matt Rule and Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, and I think a simpler college system might actually fit his strengths better than a more complex NFL system like he had with Sean Payton or whoever, like in Minnesota with Mike Zimmer. So I think he'll actually very much benefit from this more simple system.
Oh yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. He definitely has the potential to be succeed now. But I'm gonna go with the obvious choice here and go with Tom Brady for Tampa Bay. I mean, obviously, first you have the weapons. You have Evans, Godwin, you have Gronk, and their offensive line is actually pretty underrated. They obviously picked up Tristan Wirfs. They already have Ali Marpet, Donovan Jones, those type of guys, and their offensive line can be reliable. And then they picked up a running back named Keyshawn Vaughn, and I'm really excited for him because he can be a pass catcher sort of guy, and I feel like that will help take the pressure off Brady. He will have at least a serviceable running back. So yeah, and their defense is pretty underrated. They picked up Antoine Winfield Jr. He's one of my
Yeah.
favorite safety prospects. And their linebacker core, Levante David, pretty good. Then they have Vita Vea in the defensive line. So yeah, their defense can. I think the defense was. It's nowhere near the Patriots' defense last year, but the offense is amazing. His weapons are amazing. The offensive line is serviceable. It's competent. He will have enough time to throw the ball, and the defense is also serviceable and competent. So I think he'll succeed right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tom Brady, he's the GOAT, six rings. And I think you can never count him out, even if he's 42. He'll always, I mean, the Patriots made the playoffs last year, and obviously they lost to the Titans. But I think Tom Brady is a decent QB right now, and I think with all the weapons, he can succeed now. So we have a quarterback who'll succeed in the future. All of us picked James Winston of the Saints, and so basically, you can never go wrong with James Winston. I mean, he's being mentored by Drew Brees. I mean, he has all the weapons he needs to be successful in the future. He has Michael Thomas. He has Taysom Hill. He has Alvin Kamara, and all those players who can help him succeed. And I think taking over for Drew Brees is like something that every quarterback wants to do because Drew Brees is kind of like a very good mentor for young quarterbacks, and I think James Winston will benefit from that and be successful in the future. And if you guys want to add anything,
Yes, so for me, Jameis Winston, I think it's important for him to just take a step back from being that starter. Obviously, 30 interceptions last season, 30 touchdowns also, but you still don't want 30 interceptions. And I think that he's taking a step back, and this will benefit him a lot to learn from Drew Brees. And
yeah,
I think his interception problem is turning the ball over. It can easily be fixed with coaching, and I do think he's poised. If he plays well and shows he's learning and developing, he will inherit the Saints from Drew Brees.
yeah,
And one other thing is that an interesting story is that he changed his number from number 3 to number 2. And whether I know this is like a weird conspiracy, but I think this is also him redefining himself as a player. He doesn't want to be known as Jameis Winston number 3. He's now redefining himself. New jersey, new uniform. Let me come and play my game. Let me show this franchise that I can lead them in the future.
yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, you have with Sean Payton, one of the best coaches in the league, who can help develop him as well. I mean, he's in a perfect place for him for either in his career and taking over the reins for Drew Brees. And so,
broken alone, I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and